Hey everybody, thanks for joining us today for Rise City Church Online. It's going to be a great service and we're so glad that you've tuned in today. My name is James and I'm the student pastor here at Rise, and I'm so excited to introduce a new member of our Rise City staff, Lucas.
Hi Rise City, my name is Lucas Godfrey and I'm the new elementary pastor. I'm originally from Phoenix, Arizona, and I just moved from San Francisco, California to be a part of the kids team here at Rise. So excited to be a part of what God is doing here, and I'm excited to meet all of you soon.
And if you're like Lucas and new to Rise City, maybe just joining us online for the first time today, we want to say hello and get a chance to connect with you, to learn more about who you are and how we as a church can support you and offer you more information about getting connected. To do so, simply text the word Rise City, one word, to 484848. Again, Rise City, one word, to 484848. And just for taking a few moments to say hello, if you live in the San Diego area, we will send you a gift card for some free Chick-fil-A. It would be our pleasure. So send us a text now and we would love to welcome you.
And what's more, for everyone new to Rise City over these past few months, we want to invite you to join me as the new guy and the rest of our staff to our newcomer social tonight at 6:30 p.m. I'm told this is a really great opportunity for you to connect with our Rise City team, to learn more about the heart and vision of our church, and ask any questions you might have. And I'm looking forward to it because I have a lot of questions.
Lucas, you probably should have asked some of those questions before taking the job here at Rise. But it's going to be a great event with free childcare for children walking age and up. And it's not too late to sign up. You can find the RSVP form on our newly updated website, or by downloading the Rise City app, or in today's e-news.
It's going to be a great service today, and we're so glad you chose to join us. So let's get things started with our Rise City worship team.
Here we go! Shame says to hide. It's the same old lies. They're always trying to keep me silent. That's not of you. Oh God of truth, reviving my life, calling me to shine. You drew me in, back to the fold again. I've been made whole, the Father of my soul. Now you have called me out to be a light, and now I am set free.
As we head into the fall season, we have a ton of great stuff planned to help you and me get connected and continue to grow. First, due to the Newcomer Social, there will be no parking lot pop-up event tonight. However, we will be back next Sunday, August 30th at 6:30 p.m. for our first ever parking lot baptism. If you are interested in getting baptized, we would love to hear from you. You can register online through our app right now.
Rise Life Groups will be kicking off the week of September 6th. Life groups are such an important way to stay connected with others, and in a lot of ways are the backbone to our church. You can browse a list of all of the available group options by going to our website and clicking the link for groups.
For all the kids out there, our Rise City Kids Ministry will be having our September kickoff event on Saturday, September 5th at 5 o'clock. I am so excited to get a chance to finally meet all of you and have some fun together. Registration is open, but spots are going quick, so jump online on the app and sign up now.
And for all of our middle school and high school students, we just want to remind you that we are still meeting every Thursday night, and you can attend either physically or virtually. Middle school is from 5:30 to 6:30, and high school is from 7 to 8, plus an additional 30 minutes for the students that signed up to be in a small group. Check out our website for more information.
There is so much great stuff happening around here, so make sure you stay up to date. For more information on everything going on at Rise City, make sure to download the app or go online and click on the events tab on the website, risecitychurch.com.
So I'll never forget October 19th and 20th of 2016, because those 2 days I was on enemy territory as a Chicago Cubs fan in Dodger Stadium. The Cubs and the Dodgers were playing in the National League Championship Series. The winner goes on to play in the World Series. And for the Cubs, and I'm a Cub fan, it had been 70 years since we last played in a World Series, 108 years since we actually won a World Series, and here I was amongst a sea of Dodger blue, but finding incredible camaraderie with all the other blue in the stands, Cubby blue, as both sets of fans were optimistic that this was going to be their year. But on those 2 nights, the Cubs actually beat the Dodgers, paving their way to their first World Series trip and eventually a World Series title that they hadn't won in over a century. Go, Cubs, go. But here's the thing I'm always going to remember from those 2 nights. It was the fellowship of Cubs fans, especially after we had won. I mean, I was high-fiving strangers, hugging people I didn't know, giving cheers to my best friends with my religiously appropriate beverages, and I even have a distinct memory of going to the bathroom and everybody, all the guys going, "Go Cubs, go! Go Cubs, go!" and just singing the top of their lungs. We were complete strangers, but we were bonded together. We had instant chemistry because we had the common experience of being a Cub fan and finally tasting victory after decades of agony. This is probably one of the best moments of my life, just saying. So what's the point of me actually taking you down this little trip on memory lane? It's to try to give all of us a small taste of the picture I believe is painted of the first century church here in the book of Acts that we started looking at last week. Last week we kicked off this new series we're calling Essential, and we're asking this question: what's essential for a church to be a church? With all the essential and non-essential talk in our current COVID culture, I wanted to dive into the scriptures and see the essential elements that make a church so that no matter what restrictions may end up being placed on us or already are placed on us, we know that the church is still open, alive and well, so long as we commit to aligning and rallying our lives around these essential elements that marked this first church. And one of those essential elements that we're going to explore today is the one where they devoted themselves to the fellowship. They were bonded together around a common belief, and they lived vibrantly as a family of faith. And I'm pretty sure the original language says they were all Cub fans too. That's my read into it. But in Acts chapter 2, 42, there are 4 essential elements that we're told made the first church a church. It says this: It says all the believers devoted themselves to the apostles' teaching, to the fellowship, and to the sharing of meals, including the Lord's Supper, and to prayer. So you have the apostles' teaching, which was the teaching of God's word, which we looked at last week. You have the fellowship, which we're going to dig into more in just a moment. The breaking of bread, which was worship, and we'll cover that next week, and then also to prayer. And we'll close out this series here in a couple weeks looking at that essential element. So you have these four elements, and they were critical then, and they still need to be critical today. And when these four elements are present, then I believe you've got a church, whether you're in a building, whether you're in a parking lot, in a living room. You could say you're even having church when you're online, when those four elements are prominent. So I want to dig into this essential element of fellowship, or what I would call Christ-centered relationships. The word translated fellowship comes from this Greek word, koinonia. The word carries a connotation of gathering together under a common belief and common life practices. It's a community of like-minded people who share life experiences together and partner together for a common mission. In that day when this was written, koinonia was often used to describe a type of mutuality that takes place in a marriage. So we can see that this word is meant to communicate an incredible depth of relationship. It's a deep affection and a deep love that's centered on a belief in Jesus and carrying out his attitude and actions in our everyday lives. And in this first century church, Christ-centered relationships were essential for a church to be a church because this fellowship provided friendship, it provided strength, growth, accountability, teaching, I would assume laughing as well as some crying, definitely know they were giving, and they had a joy that transcended all circumstances. The fellowship was deeply bonded together to the point that we're told in Acts chapter 2, verses 44 and 45, that all the believers met together in one place and they shared everything that they had. They sold their property and possessions and they shared the money with those who were in need. I mean, you want to talk about commitment and talk about community. I mean, that's the church as God desired the church to be. The first church was marked by these Christ-centered relationships, and it still needs to be the case today. When we start Rise City Church and we create our core values, one of those core values is that we strive to be relationally driven. We champion investment over isolation because we wholeheartedly believe that Christ-centered relationships shape us into Christ-centered people. Let me say that one again. Christ-centered relationships shape us into Christ-centered people. I mean, perhaps you've heard the old adage, show me your friends and I'll show you your future. And I believe this is so true. And that's why it's critical for us to cultivate and be marked by Christ-centered relationships, or what is translated here, fellowship. This core value of us being relationally driven is anchored all the way back into the first two chapters of the Bible in the book of Genesis. And in these two chapters, this is where we find the creation account. The Bible says that everything that God created over the first 5 days, he looked at and he deemed to be good. The sun, the moon, the stars, the planets, the skies, the oceans, the birds, the fish, the turtles, the little ants, the buzzing bugs and the hummingbirds and everything else. He looked at it and he proclaimed, it is good. And then we're told on the sixth day that God created mankind. He took a handful of dirt from the ground and he breathed into it. And the breath of God, when it merged with the dirt of the earth, erupted forth was the first human, Adam. And upon his creation, God declared not just that it was good, but that he was very good. But did you know right after that declaration, God actually said there was something that was not good? I mean, what do you think it might have been? Maybe post a suggestion in the comments. I'll give you a hint. It wasn't sin, because sin didn't enter the story until chapter 3. So do you know what God said was not good? It was actually Adam being alone. Check it out. Genesis chapter 2, verse 18 says this. God said, it is not good for man to be alone. I will make a helper who is just right for him. So let's chew on this for just a second. In this moment, it's just Adam, God, and the majestic creation. There's no sin whatsoever. Everything's perfect. Sin has not corrupted anything yet. And since there's no sin, then we know there's no separation. Adam is in a perfect relationship with God. I mean, what more could you ask for? And if we were able to strike up a conversation today with Adam and ask him about his faith, he could easily say something like this. And it's very similar to what most people say today. It's like, whoa, my faith is great. I've got a personal relationship with God. It's just me and God. You ever heard people express something similar to this? I mean, I feel like I hear people say this all the time. They say things like, it's just me and God. I've got a relationship with God. It's my own personal relationship. I'm not really in the whole church thing. I got my own thing. But here's the thing. Even though that was the dynamic that existed for Adam, and it may seem good for him, and it may even at times, oh yeah, that's good. It's just me and God. That seems good for us today. Can I tell you, God said that dynamic was not good. It was not good for it to be just God and Adam. It's not good for it just to be me and God, you and God, because God desired Adam to have a helper, to have someone else, to have others who he could pursue and experience God with. God wanted Adam to have a community. He wanted him to be in relationship with others, to be devoted to fellowship, which begs the question of why? Like, why did God say it was not good for Adam and for us to be alone and desire us to be in relationship with other people? And I believe the answer is because humans are created in the image of God. We're created in God's likeness, and this was the primary differentiator as to why Adam was deemed very good and everything else was deemed just good. Because God created us in his image. And a significant part of being made in God's image is being hardwired to need relationships to grow and to thrive, because the very essence of who God is relationship. God exists in a thriving, interdependent relationship of three distinct persons: God the Father, God the Son, and God the Spirit. And this phenomenon is often referred to as the Trinity. It's God is one, but three persons. And trust me, I know this is a concept that's kind of like mind-blowing and mind-bending and probably demands a whole nother sermon on its own, so point noted. But what I want to see in this time and to understand is that God exists in relationship. And because we're made in God's likeness, then we too are created to exist in relationship, both in relationship with God, but also in relationship with other people. And perhaps no other time in recent memory proves this fact more than right now, considering that we've been isolated from one another for almost 6 months, to the point that I think I can even hear some introverts starting to crave and cry out for real life human-to-human interactions. I mean, I'll have to ask Pete about that. I don't really, maybe that's not true. But we're separated, and the more that we're separated, the soul starts to crave relationships because we are created for relationship. Do you remember the movie Castaway? That movie where Tom Hanks was all skinny and had like a really yucky beard, and I'm pretty sure, like, remember he was this character on an island and he'd been deserted there for who knows how long. And guess who he made friends with on a deserted island? A volleyball. Do you remember Wilson? Remember him, like, when he lost, Wilson's like, Wilson! Because while he was isolated, he starved for relationship to the point that he even made relationship with a volleyball. Which is so true. We need relationship. A church is a church when it cultivates Christ-centered relationships that satisfy this craving of the soul that shapes us into Christ-centered people. Rather than individualized or isolated or customized or just me and God's spirituality, God created us for fellowship, and we are made for it. And it's essential for it to be in the church. I mean, are you tracking with me? I'd love to hear your thoughts and experiences on this. I mean, if you're watching live, post in the comments how Christ-centered relationships perhaps have shaped your life and helped satisfy those soul cravings. Because I know when I reflect on my own life, I can't imagine who I'd be if I didn't have fellowship, Christ-centered relationships. And honestly, it's these relationships that first caught my attention when my friend invited me to church after I was arrested for drinking and driving, and I was just paranoid, and I was so nervous that everyone would judge me and Maybe not even let me walk to the doors of that church. But that was far from the truth. Like, I'll never forget how loving and welcoming the people in that church were. Like, it blew me away. It still does. They were so loving. They cared, they shared, they encouraged, they welcomed. They heard what I did, they forgave me. And their common bond was anchored in this belief and commitment to Jesus. It was like going to a Cubs game at Wrigley Field. Like, immediately it's like, I want in. I want to be a fan. I want on a team. It was contagious. And reflecting on the last 20 years of my life following Jesus, my Christ-centered friends have absolutely shaped my future. They've shaped and transformed my life, from Matt McLean's continual check-ins to see how I'm doing, Cedric Williams' love, forgiveness, and accountability, Matt Heinrich's consistent questions about the condition of my heart and soul care and encouraging me to slow down and spend more time with Jesus. Like, my soul has been shaped and satisfied with Christ-centered relationships. Brian Heinrich, Pete Goodman, Brad Arnold, Jerry McCorkle, Josh Jeffrey, Chad Cope, Tony Calabrese, Jim Props, Kyle Hildebrand, Glenn Verso, Dan Hoffmeister, Jim Nichols, Kyle Steck, Brian Keita, Michael Learight. I mean, the list seriously can go on. And I'm now kind of worried that I probably didn't say someone's name and they're gonna get mad at me. But the list could go on and on. But how about you? Like, how have Christ-centered relationships impacted your life? How have they helped you become a Christ-centered person? Like, I'd love to encourage you. Maybe tag someone in the comments who has been an incredible Christ-centered friend that spurred you on in your faith, so you can encourage them right now, because maybe they don't even realize how much their fellowship, their community meant to you. But how about you? How have you been a friend to others? Have you exhibited and offered the same type of fellowship that we see marking that first century church with the people who you have in your life, those around you? And if not, why not? Because it's essential. And this is why we're such huge advocates for you to get into a group here at Rise City Church. This is why we want everything that we do here at this church to somehow point you to getting in and participating in a group. Because we believe that your faith will flourish rather than flounder when you have Christ-centered relationships, because they will help shape you into a Christ-centered person. This Christ-centered fellowship that we see here is what we were hardwired for. I'm going to talk more about joining a group at Rise City in just a moment, but I first want to introduce you to another friend of mine who's been such an inspiration to me as I've watched him experience life change, as he has chose to surround himself with Christ-centered relationships. And these relationships, I mean, I see it, like, they have definitely shaped him more and more into a Christ-centered person. So for everyone watching or listening, I want to introduce you to my friend Kurt LaJoy, and I'm going to have him come on over here right now. Dude, Kurt, thanks so much for hanging out.
My pleasure.
Appreciate it. Hey, would you do me a favor? I know that you're someone, immediately I was thinking of this idea of Christ-centered relationships and fellowship, that it's been pretty impactful for you. Maybe before we jump into the Christ-centered relationships, talk to me just for a moment, just before becoming a Christian, just how did relationships impact your life?
Well, prior to being a Christian, I would say, I built some really good relationships with my friends. You know, I got the shortest term is probably 25 years out of my core group of friends. And I got a good 12 of them, and not one of them has Jesus in their heart. So I basically lived my life sleeping around, underage drinking, theft, you name it. I was not even close to living a good and perfect life by any means. And I was a pyro. I burned my room down. Yeah, literally, I burned my room down.
Do not get near fire here.
Yeah, I'm done with that. I've grown up a little bit, so that's a plus. My friends, I can't say they necessarily drove me down a bad path, but they didn't steer me onto a right path either.
Yeah.
So I continued to fall short throughout my whole life, basically, as a result of that.
I remember when I first met you, it was actually we were doing a church kind of like softball thing, and I think your wife had invited you, but you didn't really want to play. You're kind of like, but now you're like involved in all these things. So like at some point you made a decision to trust Jesus and start to surround yourself with some people that were pursuing Jesus. Like, what's been the difference?
Well, the difference, I mean, honestly, that was like you said, that softball game. The difference is I met Mr. Leewright then the first time. And, you know, and he sent me an email and I kind of ignored it, you know, like, hey, you want to come play on our softball team and stuff? I was just like, yeah, I'm not going to respond to that, you know? So, but I mean, that really started paving the way for me. You know, I saw that there was, you know, people out there with Jesus in their heart that, you know, were reaching out to me, you know, and me, I'm turning my back on him. At that point, I want nothing to do with the Lord. You know, I still not necessarily a believer. I'm not an atheist, but Jesus wasn't in my heart and he wasn't the focal point of my life. But that's where everything really started changing for me. And my life started to slowly, you know, it was baby steps. Very, very small baby steps.
It's a journey, man. It's a journey. But I know that you joined a group, and you mentioned Michael Leewright. And so you've been in a life group for some time with a small group of guys. What has that meant for your spiritual life?
That's been everything for me. You know, now, I mean, I've been in Leewright's group, I think, for going on 3 years now. Now I'm co-leading it, you know?
See, progressing forward.
Yeah. So, cool. No, it's done everything. And, you know, in reality, it started with the men's retreat, in essence. You know, I went for 3 years ago, I went for, just did a Saturday. And, you know, we broke into our small groups. And 3 years ago, I was in a deep, dark place. I mean, I was struggling every day. I thought I was going to have a heart attack. I thought I was going to drop dead. I was just stressed. I was, you know, harboring a lot of stuff in and breaking into those small groups. I was able to pour out to some God-loving men, and they listened, and they didn't shame me. They didn't talk down on me. They, you know, they offered words of encouragement, some scripture, you know, and stuff. And that's really when it started to. It's like, okay, maybe I can, you know, do this small group stuff. And then that's when I got hooked up with Leewright's group, and it's just been a blessing since.
Yeah.
I mean, it really has.
Yeah, I remember that men's retreat, and don't let this guy fool you, dude. He can. I might even try to get you to cry. This guy has got some emotions. I love his heart.
I do.
But I feel like that a part of your heart really began to soften and open up as you got around people who were honest and open and vulnerable, and spurred you on. And you're doing the same to other people, and so. I mean, it's been incredible. The other question I just had, because I know you've been married for a while, got some kids, like, how has being a part of Christ-centered relationships and shaping you into a Christ-centered person, how has that impacted your marriage?
It's impacted it significantly. You know, a lot of it all comes from my wife. You know, she's born and raised in a Christian household. She's always had Jesus pretty much at the center of her life since I met her.
Yeah.
I just chose to, you know, I mean, not to go that path, you know. I mean, I'd still go to church and stuff, but I mean, I wasn't connecting and stuff like that. But, you know, she leads a group at our house too, so I see her group of ladies coming in on Wednesdays, and, you know, they're always just happy and stuff. And that makes me feel good, because I'm like, okay, she's doing the...
Happy wife, happy life.
Yeah, exactly, you know, and doing the Lord's work with her girlfriends there and stuff like that. And just, you know, I mean, obviously we have struggles still, like every marriage and stuff, but it's really been a focal point. She's invested a lot of time into me, and that has allowed me to invest time in my group. And you know, I feel like I don't know how to disciple yet, you know, and that's, you know, and I'm just like, I feel like I tell people I'm an idiot, you know, I'm just like, I don't have that capability, but you know, I've been told, hey, just you being you is enough right now. So
yeah, you be you. I'm pretty sure. I mean, at least my study of the scriptures, a lot of the disciples were idiots. So you're in good company.
Yeah, right.
Me too. So, dude, I am grateful for you, and I just wanted you to know you inspire me, and you inspire a lot of others, and keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you.
And you're a great testimony of a man who relationships have really just shaped you into a greater man. So thanks for sharing that.
My pleasure.
All right.
Cool. Join the group.
Join the group.
It don't have a job. Don't pay your bills. It don't pay your bills. Won't buy you a home in Beverly Hills. Won't fix your life. won't fix your life. Oh no, in 5 easy steps. In the law of the land, or the government. But it's all you need. And love will hold us together, make us a shelter, weather the storm. And I'll be my brother's keeper, so the whole world will know that we're not alone. It's waiting for you, knocking at your door. In the moment of truth, when your heart hits the floor, and you're on your knees, and love will hold us together, make us a shelter, weather the storm. And I'll be my brother's keeper, so the whole world will know that we're not alone. This is the first day of the rest of your life. This is the first day of the rest of your life. 'Cause even in the dark, you can still see the light. It's gonna be alright. It's gonna be alright. This is the first day of the rest of your life. This is the first day of the rest of your life. 'Cause even in the dark, you can still see the light. It's gonna be alright. Yeah, it's gonna be alright. And love will hold us together, make us a shelter to weather the storm. And I'll be my brother's keeper, so the whole world will know that we're not alone.
Well, as we close our time together, hey, I just want to give us 2 calls to action. The first is to join a group, and the second is to be generous. First, let's talk about joining a group. You already heard Kurt talk about it, but we want to do whatever we can to try to get you to get connected to others, to cultivate those Christ-centered relationships that help you become a Christ-centered person. And as I talked about, we believe that the right relationships bring about life change and transformation. And so if you're not currently in a group or you've never been in a group, I got good news for you. We're launching a whole new fall season of groups in just a couple weeks. The week of September 6th, we're gonna be launching groups that meet in homes, groups that meet at the church, groups that meet over Zoom, groups that meet during the week, groups that meet Sunday mornings to watch the service online. We've got groups for young adults, we've got groups for singles, young marrieds, for families with kids, families with teenagers, groups for empty nesters, as well as groups for those of you who are just a little bit more seasoned in life, if you know what I mean. Seriously though, we've got a lot of groups, and I do believe we've got a group for you. And especially during this COVID season when we're starving for connection and need relationship now more than ever, I just want to emphasize, and I can't emphasize enough, take the step of faith and join a group. And I just want you to know, here's what you can expect. This is what we want groups at Rise City Church to be all about. We've got 3 things. The first one, meeting consistently to share life together. The second is if you're in a group, then we want you to be known, and we want you also to be pointed to Jesus and His Word. So those are the 3 things that we're hoping the groups really are all about. I'll say them one more time. That you would meet consistently to share life together, that you would have the opportunity to be known by others. And the common bond, that fellowship, is that you would be pointed to Jesus and His Word. Because when those 3 things are prevalent, we really believe that the groups will cultivate that Christ-centered fellowship and relationships that we've been talking about. And so, I I guess, what are you waiting for? We've got the groups all listed. You can go online to check out the fall groups and sign up online. You can go to our app, but they're all there waiting for you. Just you need to sign up. The second call to action is I want to encourage you and me and for us to continue to be generous. One of the things we see there in that first century church is they were extremely generous with their resources to help others in need. And we as a church want to be a church who practices lavish generosity so that we might see people that are in need provided for, as well as so we'd have the opportunity to continue creating opportunities for people to experience Jesus. This is a primary reason to be generous. And so here's the thing, Rise City, you've heard me say before, but you are an incredibly generous church, and I can't say thank you enough. But we need to continue to be generous even in these very uncertain and difficult times. And I'm praying that we would go above and beyond. And my promise to you is that our staff, our leadership, our elders, that we're going to seek God to do our best to allocate your generosity to impact lives. You can give a one-time gift. You can set up a reoccurring gift on our website or our app. You can also text in your gift. Or, hey, we're still good with the old-fashioned check or cash. You can mail that into the address that you see on the screen. So that's a wrap for this week. Thanks so much for joining with us today, wherever you're watching or listening from. And I pray that we would continue being a loving and life-giving church who brings hope and healing in Jesus' name. And I pray that we'd be people who wake up, rise, and shine. That we would wake up to Jesus, the one who calls us into relationship with himself and with others. And may we rise to life in him by pursuing Christ-centered fellowship, and may we shine to others by loving and serving, helping, and giving in such a way that it's absolutely convincing and contagious to a watching world that Christian community is the answer to that craving in the human soul for relationship. Have a wonderful week, and take a few minutes now to process and talk about these discussion questions wherever you're at.